I have a DR field and brush mower XL30, and we've had it since about 2018. And the issue that we've come across recently was that it was while we were using it, it would creep forward or creep backwards depending on which gear it was in. The transmission would be engaged, and I didn't fix it. I just kept using it, and then what ended up happening was, because when that happens, while it's creeping forward, the shifter here will be hard to shift into the next gear. It'll get stuck because it's engaged, and so when you try and shift it from drive to neutral, it's really hard to do. And eventually what happened was one of the cables, so this shifter here actually is attached to two cables on the bottom. You can kind of see down here that right there and right there are where the two cables attached, and then the two cables went down into the transmission area down here, and they attached to this lever right here that is kind of hard to rotate by hand, but you can do it. But anyway, this thing rotates back and forth. That's why there's two levers. The two cables attach here and here, and they basically push, or they pull is what they do. They pull this way or they pull that way, depending on which way you pull the lever up top. And then this is the transmission right here that's attached to. So that will then change the gear to neutral, or to drive, or to reverse, first and second and third gear, and so forth. So you can rotate this by hand, and I actually was able to rotate it. If you I was trying to figure out how to get it into neutral, and you would know that because once it's in neutral you'll be able to start the thing. And I found out if you pull the right side here all the way back, that's reverse, and then if you go one gear forward from there, that is neutral. And then the more you pull it this way, it then goes into first, second, and third gear, over pulling this one backwards like that. So basically, here's the cables that I've already removed, and they were up through these little holes here. You can see these holes, and then attached onto the they were attached onto the shift lever via these little things that just kind of slip through there. They slip in like that and hold it. And then each one of these cables was then inserted inside, and I've already just a sec. Alright, so each one of these cables was inserted up in here like this, and then was tightened down on each side with these nuts. And basically, and then it was attached up here to the lever. Okay, so basically what the lady said I probably should have done, if I had done this before it broke, was to adjust these nuts. I called into DR, and they had somebody there that gives you advice about it. And you could adjust these nuts. You could make the whole cable go up or down, depending on whether you make, this one goes up or this one goes down. You can adjust the cable up or down that way within the thing. And you can do the same thing. Like I said, there's actually two cables that are involved here, so you could do the same thing with the other cable back here, because that also has two nuts on it. So there's a front cable and a back cable, and both of them are attached to this shifter right here. And basically, again, when you shift forward and back, that just makes the lever down here on the transmission go back and forth in between the different gears. Now, to get to that lever down on the transmission, when I first undid this, I had to take this plate off. So this plate was originally right there, and there were a bunch of these bolts like this that were in there holding it in, and those can be taken out just with a regular socket wrench. It's a 9/16 wrench, and just take those out. And then it didn't want to come out too good because there was 3 cables that were stuck in each of these holes. The cable there, a cable there, and then there's still one in there for the drive cable is still in there. And those kind of hold it tight, so it keeps the thing from coming completely out. When all 3 of them are in there, you can hardly move it out at all. And so what you had to do was to kind of get it out as much as you could, and I stuck a wrench back behind the back side of the plate and squeezed the cables back there, and then they popped out. And I'll show you the thing that I squeezed. So here's the end of the cable that was inside this this thing. All right, and basically, if you take a wrench of some sort and you squeeze this end of the cable here while it was inside that plate, you basically squeeze that in enough and it will come through and then you'll be able to pop the cable out through the little hole that was in that in this black plate here that was holding it in place. And then once you do that, then you got to also unhook the assuming the cable is not completely broken, you have to unhook the this little hook out of the transmission shifter. So this little hook was basically same. It's hooked up the same way on the bottom and the top. It just goes through a little hole that's on the transmission shifter. I'm not sure how good you can see that, but it's like that, and that's what pulls it back and forth. So you just hopefully loosen it up a little bit so that you can get enough room to move it like that, and then just pull it out. It pulls out on that side, and it'll also pull out on the other side. There's a hole there for the same exact thing. There's one for each cable, because there's 2 cables. One cable pulls this way, one cable pulls that way, depending on where you move the shifter. One thing I found out too, and this information is in the manual, of course, maybe I don't really read the manual that much a lot of times until you need to, and then I found out that really I should have probably also been lubricating these cables, because they can get a little bit sticky over time, and I think ours did. And there's what you should use is basically like dry lube or like a Teflon, preferably a Teflon lube, and spray it in there, and that will just spray it down in here, and on the other end too, you know, into here. It's probably easiest to do it while you're changing them, but you could probably do it to a certain extent while they're off too, and that way they will go freely. There's also there's a similar type cable on the drive. When you want the thing to drive forward, you pull down this handle here, right? Well, that has basically, you know, all these are similar to bicycle cables. That has a bicycle cable too there, so you can put dry lube in there. And also down here, you can see this is the other end. The one that's still in there is the other end of the drive cable that's still attached. But you could put some dry lube on that too. Again, it should be Teflon-based dry lubricant. And that will help them to slide better inside these bicycle cable type jackets. So that's right now I'm waiting for the parts to come. I'm waiting for my new cables to come, so that's why I'm not fixing it right now. But when I do get those new cables, I'll simply put them back into these little things here, hook them up to the levers on each side. I'll hook one up there, and I'll hook one up right there on that side of the lever. So both of them are hooked up there. Then you run them down here, and they should be attached They should be attached to the bars. Just they were originally attached by these kind of pull ties. So just a pull tie here and a pull tie there was originally there, and then one down here to hold it in place. And then, from what I've been able to tell, the cable that attaches to the front of the lever seems to go into the right hand side hole, and the one that's on the back side of the shift lever, the one that attaches the back side of the shift lever instead of the front, goes into this middle hole, as far as I can tell. I could be wrong on that, but I think I'm correct. And unfortunately, I forgot to write that information down when I took it apart. But oddly, it does have an F there that originally made me think that's where the front one went, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So that's that. The other thing I noticed is that, you know, inside the gearbox here, or not the gearbox, but the box where the transmission and the other belts sit and stuff, there's this this belt in here, and that's the drive belt, and that's the one that is engaging sometimes and causing it to creep forward or creep backwards. And I know in some videos they've said you should put a looser belt on that, and I did go ahead and buy the AK33, which is the 35-inch belt, and I haven't put that on yet. But if I'm not able to fix the problem by putting the new cables on and adjusting the lengths up here, then I might try that longer belt. But I have a feeling that the belt may not be the main problem, because the belt is pretty loose right now, just with the original belt on it. So I don't really think that is completely the problem. I think it's just that the cables, probably through vibration and other reasons, got misadjusted over time. Also, the lady pointed out sometimes with the drive cable, that needs to be adjusted. So again, the shifter cables get adjusted right here by moving these nuts up or down along along this little shaft, and that moves the cable up or down slightly. And the same thing with there's a second cable which I left over here. There's a second cable on the back that gets adjusted the same way on the back, up or down. So there's two cables for the shift lever. There's also the drive cable lever, and that one, if you follow it down, has this little adjuster right here to make it kind of easier to adjust. You hardly even need a wrench for it. You just, although it might be good to have a pair of pliers to hold on to it while you do it, but basically, I kind of need two hands to do this, but basically you just rotate this thing left or right, and it will, as you rotate it, as long as you're holding on it, and you can use a wrench on, they actually have some wrench fittings right here and here, so you could use a hand wrench to do that. As you rotate it, it will get a little longer or shorter. It elongates and shortens the cable slightly by maybe about a half an inch to an inch, and that is how you adjust the drive cable. So that's just right below the handlebar there, and it's the only cable that has this type of a adjustment thing on it. I can't do it, it's a little tight right now, and but I was able to do it earlier when I used both hands. You just hold on to the cable with one and use a wrench on the other one, and it moves pretty nicely. So one other thing I had noticed that may have contributed to some problems earlier on is that sometimes when you have been mowing a lot, inside this box it will get stuffed full of grass and other things, and that can kind of make things not work so good. And so it might be worth it to once in a while look in there and clean out any garbage that's in there. This one has been cleaned out relatively recently, but there's many times I've gone in here and the whole thing is just stuffed completely full of stuff. And of course that might be enough junk to tighten that drive belt up a bit, which might cause it to start creeping forward also. So that's about it for today. I just wanted to mostly to just do a video. I was frustrated that there's so few videos about the DR mower out there, and I just wanted to do a video of some of the things that I've learned about it with the few little problems that we've had. Overall, it's been really good though, and I do really like it a lot. It's a super it's a great way to be able to clear your property of small trees and grass and other junk that's out there. I guess maybe one other couple of other little problems that we've had with it that I'll just highlight real fast before I go. These are going back a little way now. These are problems that are already solved. Was that for a while when I would press this, when I would pull the PTO switch to engage the mower part, it would sometimes not engage. Well, what I found out is that it has an electric clutch. So there's an electric clutch down there that engages the drive belts. I'll take it apart right now, but it engages the drive belt, and in fact, if you look way in the back there, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can kind of see the electric clutch, just barely. But anyway, the electric clutch, what I found out is the electric clutch will not engage just with whatever electricity is generated by the engine, by the little generator that's on the engine. It needs the battery power to do that. And one problem I had been having when this was an issue, when the electric clutch would not engage, was that the connections for the battery were not that good, and I would have to jiggle them just to get the thing to start. So I would be jiggling these things around, and it would finally kick in, and then I could go ahead and turn the key and start it, and it would go. But the connections were not very good. They had deteriorated, and I didn't think it was a big deal, but then I found out that what I figured out was that the bad connection at the battery was what was making the electric clutch not engage, because apparently it uses completely the battery power to engage that electric clutch. It doesn't use the power that the engine is generating. So all I had to do was to cut the one that had the bad connection. I cut the wire. It was one of these type of connectors originally. I cut the wire. I got one of these cheap little electrical connectors. They're just kind of generic things, really. They sell them really cheap. And then it just slides onto the battery, and then I stripped a little bit of the wire, and you just crimp it on with a crimper. It's like a pair of pliers that squeezes it really tight, and that you could even just use pliers probably. It crimps down the outside of this little plastic shell, and there's metal inside that holds onto the wire real tight, and then you get a new connector on there. And that seems really dumb, and it seems like something that wouldn't cause a major problem, but it sure does. It makes it so not only is it hard to start, which was not that big of a deal because I could just fiddle around with this, but it also wouldn't engage the PTO consistently, so I couldn't mow then. So that was a big problem that took me a while to figure out. I thought there was something wrong with the PTO or with the not the PTO, or I thought there was something wrong with the electric clutch, but it wasn't. It was just the battery connection wasn't good enough to engage the electric clutch. So that was kind of interesting. The other issue that we've had in the more distant past is that there's several little things that connect onto the mower all the way around it. Like you can see down here, there's this little electrical connection. And down here, there's this electrical connection. And More likely to be a problem though is this electrical connection. This is the one we've had problems with several times. So when you're out there mowing, and this is right behind the little box where the transmission sits. It's right on the transmission actually. But watch this. I want to show you this now. If I just jiggle this a little bit, this electrical connector here, it will just pops right off. It's basically just held on to two little screws there by kind of like a sliding mechanism. You can see the little slots there. It slides over those two little screws. Well, that is not a very secure connection. And when you're out mowing a lot of really nasty stuff, especially if it's not just grass, but a lot of little trees and things like that, which this thing can easily handle, sometimes something will catch that and knock it out, and then you've got a problem. Because I can't remember exactly what the problem it was now. It was a couple of years ago, but basically it would let me think if I can remember what it did. I think what happened when we did that is that if you were to shut the thing down, it wouldn't restart, or either that or it just wouldn't move forward. I can't remember, but anyway, one way or the other, if you're having a problem with that thing out in the field and you've been mowing some heavy stuff, you should check down here and make sure this thing hasn't slid backwards and is maybe just kind of sitting there. You know, it's so low down, especially in a field of grass, you may not even notice that. But all you got to do is take it and slide it right back on, and the thing will work again. So that's a good thing to know. And then over on, let's see here. Over on this side, there's also some connectors down here. And so just be aware that there's these electrical connectors. And I think I've had this one here also come out. This is right in front of the engine on the left-hand side. And that's popped out one time too, and I can't remember what problem it caused, but you'll notice because something won't work. I think it's just the thing wouldn't start again. One thing I found over time with this that's I think a pretty good tip is that if you're ever out in the field and working with it, it might be a good idea to well, yeah, there's sometimes you do want to shut it down, but if you're having a problem at all, let's say something's not working quite right and it's still running, what I would advise is rather than try and shut it down and try and look at it in the field, drive it back to your building first and look at it there, because sometimes when you have a problem, even these minor problems that I've just pointed out, as soon as you shut it down, you then can't restart the darn thing. And so then you're left dragging a several hundred pound, I think with the attachment on there, it might be about 300 pound machine back to your building, which I've done several times now because I let it shut down in the field. And it's doable, but it's an awful lot easier just to let it drive back, if possible. Drive it back to your shed and look at it there. So let's see. Yeah, that's about all I can think of as far as problems that I've had with it. It's been quite good overall, and I've certainly cleared out a good chunk of most of the 10-acre area around here of all kinds of different saplings and garbage using this piece of equipment. One other thing just to keep an eye on, this is mentioned in several other videos, but there's this oil change tube over here on the side of it, and you just want to make sure that can easily get pulled off. And when that happens, see, it can just pull up. Well, oh, it pulls down. Okay, so it just pulls down a little bit, and then it can hang loose. Well, if this is let to hang loose and that cap was to come off, all the oil will come out of your engine while it's running. So obviously you don't ever want that thing running loose. So make sure it's secured tightly up there and not hanging loose, and make sure that the little screw cap is tightly on. And I do agree that it's kind of ridiculous to have this oil change thing here. For how many times are you going to change the oil on a machine like this? Is probably very few, actually. So it's not worth having something like that that could potentially spill all the oil out while you're using it. But anyway, a couple other things that I will mention. Down here, just below the battery, there is a fuse. And all you got to do is unscrew that and take it out. And if things don't work at all and you're not sure why, that's one thing I would check, is just take that apart and look in there and see if the fuse is burned out or not. It's just an old-fashioned glass tube fuse, and it's just inside this little white thing. And then one other thing I wanted to point out was that our mower did not come with a headlight, but I went ahead and got a headlight for it from DR, and they send you this thing in a box like this, and I'm going to show you the product, because you can buy this product for a fraction of what they charge. So here's the box that the lamp came in, and they don't give you anything special for the DR trimmer mower. It's just this thing that's made by a different company, and they sell it for about $40. And but what it says on it, it has the Generac number, but that was just pasted on with a sticker. But really, it's a GROTE, GROTE halogen work lamp, and it's 63151-5 flood. That's the one I bought, and so that was the one that DR sent me for $40. Well, then I was buying a second one because I thought, well, this is a really nice lamp, and I'd like to get one for our little lawn tractor over there too. So I did, and I just bought the exact same one, but I went on to Walmart.com, and they had this exact same thing for $10, including shipping, I think, so it was really cheap. I think they're a little bit outdated, so they're just trying to get rid of them. But the other thing is that I had the light inside this thing burn out after I'd used it for a while from too much vibration or something. Well, the lights are also really cheap, and you don't have to replace this whole lamp. You can buy the little light bulbs, and they come in a box like this. It says H3 HD, and these ones are by Gila. Well, I'm going to open up the box here and just show you what it looks like real fast. The little light bulb that's inside this thing. Just a sec, sorry. Okay. So here it is. It's just a little halogen light bulb, and it's got a little electrical connector on it. And you might wonder where the second electrical connector is. Well, the second electrical connector is the base of the bulb. So the base of the bulb completes the circuit, and this connects it to the live wire. So basically, if you need to replace the bulb in one of these headlamps, you just take out the screws and take the plastic cover off and the glass cover off, and then inside you'll see a bulb like this. You just pull it out, put the new one in, attach it up, and put everything back together. That's all there is to it. Second thing, though, that I want to point out is that when we installed this, it had no instructions that came from DR on how to install the headlamp. They just sent us the box and the lamp, and that was it. Well, what I found out is that if you go down on the control area down here, if you go below the key and come down here, there's a little red wire that was connected into where the ignition key is, and that was kind of tied by a little tie down here. Well, if you take that out, and I wired it up through here, but it wasn't originally, that's what you need. That particular wire is the one that they intend for the light switch, and you just plug it into the light switch right there, and or into the light bulb, and that's it. And then to install the actual light physically onto the thing, there's a you just got to choose a place, and I can't remember if it had a hole or not. I don't think it did. So I basically just, I think I just drilled a hole right there into the machine. That was the right size. And then there's a bolt that comes with this kit that, it's just hard to see, but let me just get a light here. So you can see down there, and I can't remember honestly whether I drilled that hole or it was already there. I think the hole may have already been there, but if not, I drilled it. I don't remember now. And put that bolt through. That came with the kit to hold the light assembly on. And then the little red cord that I needed to plug into the light, I needed to get it up to the top, and so I did. You can see right here I drilled a hole into the little plastic fitting there to allow the wire to come through and join into the light. But that's been a nice light to have, and basically to turn the light on, there's already there's an adjustment right on the ignition switch here, where when you put that to the light while it's running, so this is the normal position it's in while it's running. Well, while it's running, you can just switch to light, and that will turn the light on so that you have a nice amount of light going forward in front of you. I got the battery disconnected right now, so it's not working. But so I think that's about it. I just wanted to share some of those things that I've learned about this this mower, since there's so few videos on YouTube about this. But it's a super nice piece of equipment for sure, and probably one of my most favorite, especially if you enjoy equipment that you can walk behind and not ride like a tractor. Have a great day.